4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
With Election Day in less than 2 months, what is on the line is not a simple difference of policies, it is the fate of our nation. Judicial activists at all levels have put roadblocks in the way of justice. The 34-time convicted felon will not see a prison cell before Election Day. MAGA activists at state and local levels are working to disenfranchise voters, and foreign governments are paying conservative bloggers to spread their propaganda. On Liberal Dane Radio, we cut through the lies, unwind the spin, and give facts to counter their fiction. Will you do what needs to be done to make sure our nation isn't taken over by an autocratic despot? Or will you sit back and watch as our nation falls to ruin? The clock is ticking. Act now, before it's too late. Welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, come on over to YouTube. LiberalDanRadio.com is the link to get you to my channel. We have much more fun over there, and I don't monitor the chat on Blog Talk Radio anymore. Or you can come to twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio as well. Either way, both of those chats are monitored, and if you want to call in, leave your, first name and your area code that you're calling from, unless I already know who you are, and I will make sure to get to you as soon as I can when it's convenient. We may not be doing a super long, definitely not a 3-hour show tonight, because my wife's back home. She went to the doctor up in Virginia, D.C. area. It turns out that it's not actually Bell's palsy, but something else that acts kind of similar. Prognosis should be good. She may take a while, up to a year, for her to get better, but it looks like we're gonna, this shirt looks really weird on camera. I'll get to that in a second. But it looks like the doctor seems very positive about that, and we're taking positive steps towards her health outlook. This is not a Blue Lives Matter shirt or whatever. There are additional colors to the shirt, like there's brown right there. It's multiple different colors. It's very comfortable, but it is what it is. Sorry, I stole Trump's line. That's how I roll. I steal people's lines, I guess. Here we go.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Shouts out to everybody in the chat so far. Make sure to smash that like button, and then the patriarchy. I got the mod squad in the house. Aaron and Jolie, thank you so much for all your support. Dakota Dave, Nick, Surrender Monkey, Whisper Mason, TV2 Lives here already. Scott for IU, Steve from across the pond. Did I say Dakota Dave? Did I miss anybody else? Impeccable Living. Diane. Awesome. From the 21st century suffragettes. Shout out to all the suffragettes and suffragettes out there as well. I shared the link last week to the Friends of the Show. Make sure to, go to liberaldan.com, go to the Friends of the Show link, and you can find a whole bunch of links to a whole bunch of Friends of the Show, and I'd be more than happy to, give them your support and love as well. There is no Twitch. There is Twitch now. Problem with Twitch is annoying. Twitch does not like the intro music. So I have to kind of start OBS going with YouTube, and then I have to start it going with Twitch, and then sometimes I just get on a roll and forget to hit the start streaming on Twitch. So I have to hit 2 different buttons on OBS, and sometimes I just forget, because I'm a forgetful boy sometimes. So thank you, Aaron, for letting me know. Appreciate you. As always, I accidentally grabbed a bottle of no-dose instead of melatonin, so I'm with you for the next 16 hours. Hey, I have several 3-hour episodes that you can watch and go back into the deep archives. I do have a best of channel that you could watch. I did post a new Hypocrite of the Week this week. It is separate from last week's show. It was aired during last week's show, but it's probably a little more clear than what you heard on last week's show. Or on Monday's show, at least, and it's a trifecta or a hat trick of hypocrisy, if you will. So, there are lots of videos out there, from the Liberal Dan Chopper City kind of parody type videos to Hypocrites of the Week, Words of Redneck Wisdom, and various other bits that I've done in other smaller, shorter, and longer videos that you can peruse, share, and help the channel grow. Make sure to support the channel, like the videos, share, subscribe, go to Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you anything to go to Twitch and subscribe every month. One thing I do want to ask, we're trying, Aaron asked me for help, and I'm more than willing to help. We want to help Andrea, Hal's mod, get to, the meet and grope or meet and greet or whatever it's called for the Sexy Liberal Tour. And so we want to kind of, Andrea does so much for Hal. Andrea does so much for me. She's not a mod for me, but she does help out in other ways, and she's been very supportive of the show, and I want to help out as much as possible. So if you Venmo me, the Venmo code's right there. It's Liberal Dan on Venmo. If you send me some Venmo, and we get enough to send the money over to I'll send the money over to Aaron, and Aaron can get Andrea a ticket to the Sexy Liberal show, and we'll be able to just thank all of the audience for their help. So just send it friends and family. You're not buying anything from me. You're just sending it over as, hey, and if you want to put Andrea in the title, so I know that it's earmarked for that. And maybe if there's anything extra, we'll see what we'll do at that point with anything that's above and beyond what we need. So, but anyway, it would be great to help her. She's helping me out. In fact, she's gotten me on Hal's show on Friday. I will be on Hal's show at noon, my time, 1 Eastern, on Friday during my lunch break. So if you want to see more Liberal Dan, tune in to Hal Friday afternoon, depending on what your time zone is, midday, and I will be there as well. I'll remind you about that. But again, appreciate all the help that y'all do. It is the 13th season of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, and we're trying to, make 13 more and make them even greater and better, and just trying to get more subscribers. And as Hal was talking about at the end of his show, we're trying to do it legit. We're trying to make it so that we don't get bots, and I don't want to have fake people watching and fake people subscribing. Sometimes people use multiple accounts, and that's fine. But other than that, I don't want to get all into the having to pay. I want a high quality show with high quality audience, or mostly high quality audience. Sometimes we get the trolls, but it happens, and we deal with them as they come through.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. And yes, thank you, Jolie, for sharing the phone number again. Let's see. Oh, that's happy hour at the Hal Sparks Show. Does that mean I have to take some shots while I'm on Hal? Well, not on Hal. If I was on Hal, I'd probably crush the poor guy, but you know what I mean. So, Surrender Monkey, Hal's chat is going to eat you alive. Trust me, I'm a Trump Truth account holder, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I've been on Hal's show before. It's happened. I've been to Hal. I'm a part of the reason I got to 1,000 subscribers is because of Hal's show. So there you go. So I'm not worried. How's Andrea isn't getting a free ticket? I don't know how all that works, but all I know is that Aaron asked for my help, and Aaron is amazing and helps me out a lot. So I'm going to help Aaron do what she wants to do to help Andrea, and Andrea helps me out too. So if I can help Aaron help Andrea, awesome. So I'm all about helping. I had to take a sip, so sorry. Little thirsty. Little thirst. The thirst is real. So lots of stuff to talk about today. A lot of the times, there is a reason why I tend to talk about the topic of abortion a lot. It's because it's Rovember. It's because Dobbs V Jackson fundamentally transformed this country. They want to talk about and use the words about how Barack Obama said that he wanted to fundamentally transform America. Of course, they take his words out of context. They don't actually use the actual context of what he said. It's not the vile, dastardly thing that they're trying to make it out to be. None of what the Democrats do are the vile, dastardly things that they try and make us out to be. But yeah, the Dobbs V Jackson ruling absolutely fundamentally transformed America, and in a very bad way. And it was bound to happen. It was unfortunate that it was bound to happen. But once these states started rolling in their draconian abortion bans, you have Amber Nicole Thurman, a 28-year-old, who she didn't want to be pregnant, and that's fine, and I support a woman's right to choose. And if you're pregnant, if you don't want to be pregnant, you should be able. But she lives in Georgia. Georgia passed horrible rules, and so she goes and she takes abortion pills. I think she's the one that went to another state, missed the appointment, ended up having to get a chemical abortion, died during, and then she was having issues with the post-pill period, ended up needing DNC. Unfortunately, the hospital would not treat her immediately. There are laws in effect in Georgia that prevent a DNC from being performed after an abortion, except for supposedly in an emergency situation. But the law is not clear as to what an emergency situation is, and it doesn't give hospitals the leeway. It doesn't even say, when in doubt, we're going to trust the hospital and what they say what an emergency situation is. No, we're going to, they basically leave it vague and up in the air. So nobody was willing to do the procedure to remove the tissue from the uterus following that, because it's a felony offense with medical exceptions. But again, the doctors had said again that the language is too vague. And so so she ended up dying, because once it became an actual emergency where they finally realized they had to do something, it was too late. Her heart stopped and she died. You also have, and she was the first documented case in Georgia of a person who died because of Dobbs V Jackson. And then you also have Candy Miller. Candy Miller also had an abortion. She was afraid to seek care amid Georgia's abortion ban, so she stayed home and died. And of course, these are two black women, and black women, terrible when it's terrible in this country when it comes to black women and the care they receive in this country with giving birth and pregnancy for healthy pregnancies. There's more issues with pregnancies that should be healthy with black women than there are with the general population altogether. According to the ProPublica article, Candy Miller's health was so fragile, doctors warned having another baby could kill her. They said it was going to be more painful and her body may not be able to withstand it. But when the mother of three realized she had unintentionally gotten pregnant in the fall of 2022, Georgia's new abortion ban gave her no choice. Although it made exceptions for acute, life-threatening emergencies, it didn't account for chronic conditions, even though those known to present lethal risks later in pregnancy. And that's the issue with with these laws. The laws in Louisiana, in Texas, the former law that was in Ohio before the voters voted to overturn it and enshrine abortion rights in the Ohio Constitution. The problem with these rules is that they don't allow you a doctor to say, if we allow this pregnancy to continue, it will become a problem. They require the person to wait for it to become a problem. So Miller had lupus, diabetes, and hypertension, didn't want to wait till the situation became dire. She avoided doctors and navigated abortion on her own. A path many feared, health experts feared would increase risks when women lost the constitutional right. Miller ordered abortion pills online. She did not expel all the fetal tissue and would need a dilation and curettage procedure, DNC, to get it from a uterus and stave off sepsis. Many states, this care is routine for abortions and miscarriage. In Georgia, performing it had been made a felony with few exceptions. Her teenage son watched her suffer days after she took the pills. She was bedridden and moaning in the early hours of November 12th, 2022. Her husband found her unresponsive with a 3-year-old at her side. The autopsy found unexpelled fetal tissue, confirming the abortion had not fully completed. It also found lethal combination of painkillers, including fentanyl. Miller had no history of drug use. The medical records state her family had no idea how she obtained them or what was going through her mind, whether she was trying to quell the pain, complete the abortion, or end her life. Medical examiner was unable to determine the matter of her death. Her family had later told a coroner she hadn't visited a doctor due to current legislation on pregnancies and abortions. When the state committee on experts in maternal health, including 10 doctors, reviewed her case, they immediately decided it was preventable and blamed the state's abortion ban. According to members who spoke to ProPublica on the condition of anonymity, they came to the conclusion after weighing the entire chain of events that her decision to manage her abortion alone, to her reticence to seek medical care, the fact that she felt she had to make these decisions and didn't have adequate choices in Georgia, influenced her care. So again, Dobbs v. Jackson and the laws passed after Dobbs v. Jackson, these legislatures jumped to make the most draconian laws possible, and guess what? Now we have 2 women who are dead because of it. And the blood is on the hands of the Supreme Court, of Donald Trump for nominating those Supreme Court appointees for campaigning that he would overturn Roe, and he got his wish, and for all the members of the legislature and all the governors who passed these draconian laws. That even includes Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards, who is a Democrat, mind you, but he's conservative and he's pro-life, supposedly pro-life. You can't be pro-life and support these laws because these laws are not pro-life. These laws do not allow people to protect their lives. And how many more people are they going to find now who have died since then because, they could have gotten an abortion had Roe v. Wade be, maintained as the law of the land, but now is not the law of the land, and therefore women and other people who will be pregnant have lost their ability to protect their own lives, from a dangerous pregnancy, or to treat a condition, in the case of Amber Thurman, that she actually aborted it with the pill, and because she didn't want to be pregnant, but still she was dealing with the complications of taking the pills afterwards, and then they wouldn't go save her life. These doctors were refusing to save her life. Why? Because they were afraid they would be arrested. They were afraid they would lose their jobs. Now, while some might call them cowards, but, it's very hard to imagine yourself in the situation where you're just trying to sit there and you have a family, you have people you have to support, you have to, you want to continue to do the job that you want to do as a doctor, and the law is telling you it's unclear whether or not you can get an abortion or not in this circumstance. Now, Louisiana has a similarly worded law. Mandy Landry, a legislator from New Orleans, we've had her as a guest on the show. The Louisiana Democratic Party, or at least the former head of the Louisiana Democratic Party, targeted her with somebody else. We've covered that on the show. That person lost. Mandy Landry was very popular and won re-election heartily. Mandy Landry challenged Louisiana's Attorney General Liz Murrill about what Louisiana would do in such situations, because we need doctors in Louisiana and in all of these states need guidance. There were people, a group of 20 people, who sued the state of Texas, and they wanted doctors to have guidance as to know what it was or what it is that they could do in order to make sure that when they could act and when they can't act. And the Supreme Court of the state of Texas tossed the case because they didn't want to give that answer. Of course, the Supreme Court, in the case of Kate Cox, lied in their ruling that denied Kate Cox the ability to get the procedure in Texas, claiming that Kate Cox didn't say, or her attorneys didn't say that, here's the doctor's statement saying it's medically necessary, when in fact they did say it was medically necessary in the court filing. We read it here directly on the show. So they're a bunch of liars and hypocrites because, they swore an oath, but they violated that oath. So Liz Murrill seems to believe that there's a whole bunch of misinformation on this issue. She seems to believe there's a whole bunch of misinformation about abortion. And so she posted a statement. I haven't read it yet. So let's go ahead and read her, what I'm sure is a shitty little statement about this issue. Certain members of the media, political organizations, and candidates and pro-abortion organizations have attempted to sow confusion and doubt regarding our laws to further their own financial and or political agendas. These organizations profit from misinformation they perpetuate. I think she left out a "the" there. I don't think that's a correct sentence. Minus 5 points on her English grade. To address this directly, Attorney General Liz Murrill has issued the following statement. So maybe it's the person who wrote this for her who gets the minus 5 points. During the 2024 regular session, Louisiana Senator Thomas Presley's sister, Catherine Herring, testified regarding her ex-husband's attempt to induce the termination of her pregnancy at approximately 8 weeks by lacing her drinks with abortion-inducing drugs. Thankfully, she was able to save her pregnancy and gave birth to a beautiful, cherished daughter. The legislature, in response, increased the criminal penalties that would attach to such conduct, added mifepristone and misoprostol to a list of Schedule 4 controlled substances. We will get to that in a second. Miss Herring's courageous testimony illustrated that easy access to these drugs can be dangerous to pregnant women and exposes women to the risks of coercion, abuse, and criminal behavior. The legislation does not limit healthcare providers' ability to use, prescribe, or fill these medications for legitimate health purposes, nor does it impose restrictive burdens for access for emergency purposes. To further clarify, these drugs may continue to be quickly accessible for use in emergencies. The Louisiana Department of Health has issued additional guidance which may be accessed here. Let's open here and we'll continue. Providers who adhere to LDH and Louisiana Pharmacy Board regulations concerning scheduled drugs generally, or these drugs specifically, will not have exposure to fines, adverse licensing actions, or prosecution. I appreciate the healthcare providers who have appropriately directed their questions, blah, 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 blah. The term secure used by LDH in its regulation is not vague. It is commonly accepted, meaning to relieve from exposure to danger, act to make safe against these adverse contingencies, according to Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster is not a legal dictionary, though, and it's not necessarily a dictionary or how the law defines secure. LDH is used if the term provides hospital and other providers dealing with emergent situations such as miscarriages or bleeding maximum flexibility to access these medications if they are needed. The guidance is clear that securing the medications need not impede access as long as the provider has adequate policies to ensure the drugs are safely and responsibly stored and accounted for. All right, so we're going to get to this now, I guess, because I was going to get to this at some point, but we're going to get to it now. Let's read the Louisiana Department of Health memorandum. Louisiana Department of Health issues the following memorandum and guidance regarding this act or whatever, dealing with the making of mifepristone and misoprostol Schedule 4 drugs. Composition schedule. Schedules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shall, and whatever, blah, 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 consists of the following drugs or substances. Schedule 4, mifepristone, misoprostol, unless listed in another schedule, any material, compound, mixture, or preparation containing any detectable quantity of mifepristone or misoprostol. Please be advised that mifepristone and misoprostol may be prescribed and administered in accordance with blah, blah, blah. A copy of blah, blah, blah is attached. Mifepristone and misoprostol are legal with a valid prescription in Louisiana, subject to compliance with all health Louisiana laws. Hospital inpatient settings. The memorandum and guidance seeks to clarify that mifepristone and misoprostol may be utilized in Louisiana hospitals to treat postpartum hemorrhage and incomplete miscarriage in accordance with that, in compliance with Louisiana law and regulations. Pursuant to all hospital licensing rules, all scheduled drugs should be compounded, packaged, dispensed, and securely stored in locked, secured cabinet, compartment, or other system. Important words. In accordance with the hospital's current policies and procedures. In addition, the hospital's pharmacy shall have current controlled dangerous substance license to dispense controlled substances, blah, blah, blah. Hospital may include mifepristone and misoprostol in a secured, automated medication dispensing delivery system, such as a Pyxis system. Such systems are allowed in hospital emergency departments, labor and delivery units, rooms, operating rooms, blah, blah, blah. Whenever is deemed appropriate by the hospital. Further, a hospital may authorize certain scheduled drugs to be included in a locked or secured area of an obstetric hemorrhage cart or crash cart. Such authorization should be approved by the hospital's chief medical officer. Additionally, such approval and process should be included in the hospital's pharmacy policy and procedures. All right, and that's a little vague because it may be, and it's up to the person, and it can be in the locked or secured area of the crash cart. So let me be clear. If you're giving birth and you start to hemorrhage, any delay in the delivering of care, i.e. the application or the dispensing of misoprostol, which is required to be given to a hemorrhaging patient after delivery, is a risk to that patient's life. Any additional steps, unneeded and unnecessary steps that you have to take in order to dispense that medication puts that patient's life in additional risk. So if it now has to be, because it used to be, where it could just be on the cart, like right next to the thing. You could have it in a little cup or, I don't know if it, or a syringe or whatever. You could just have it right there. And I guess you could probably push it into a line if you needed to. Immediately. No, you can't do that now. It has to be in a locked area. Or dispensed from some other place. Or you have to go, if you don't have one of those, you have to go get it from the pharmacy. Any time spent in unnecessarily to try and get these drugs that Louisiana has now placed on these hospitals puts patients at risk even more. But these people are supposedly pro-life. Yeah, screw all that. They're not pro-life. They're pro their whatever their feelings are about abortions, because one person went anti-choice and slipped their spouse drugs to induce an abortion. Because that's wrong too. It's absolutely 100% wrong to force to give somebody drugs to unknowingly cause them to have an abortion, force them to miscarry or whatever. That's wrong. If somebody wants to give birth, they should be able to give birth, and nobody should prevent them from doing that. And they're literally throwing they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. No, they're throwing the pregnant woman out with the baby. They're throwing the pregnant people out with the bathwater with this one. Because to fix the problem was say, if you do this terrible thing, you are going to go to jail for a long time. Punish them after the fact. Don't punish everybody else who needs these drugs legitimately and force these drugs to now be Schedule 4 drugs because one person did something bad. One person was enough to get these conservatives in a hissy and all up in a tizzy. It's ridiculous. Should any provider or medical professional have additional questions about Act 246, including compliance, blah, 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 Louisiana Department of Health recommends the professional provider seek legal advice from its own legal counsel. Let's go back to Liz Murrell. Louisiana's pro-life laws in general. Intent of Louisiana pro-life laws to protect unborn babies from elective abortion, the treatment conditions of such as an No. Louisiana's pro-life law does not just prevent unborn babies from elective abortion. Louisiana's law prevents many from non-elective abortions because Louisiana has made many abortions that are non-elective to be still illegal. Treatment of conditions such as ectopic pregnancy or miscarriage care do not fall within the legal definitions of abortion. So what she's trying to claim is that if somebody had a miscarriage, you could treat it. But what if somebody is in the process of miscarrying like Kate Cox? Now, Mandy Landry has specifically challenged, Liz Murrell openly on Twitter to explain and publicly state whether or not you can, in a situation like Kate Cox's, obtain an abortion at that time before sepsis kicks in. So let's see. Definition board, which requires an intent to terminate a viable pregnancy when no other exceptions apply. So a pregnancy is non-viable. Here's the thing. So if the pregnancy is not viable, but yet there's still a heartbeat, what do? What do doctors do? The doctors look at Louisiana law just like they would look at Texas's law, just like look at all these other laws, and they'd be like, it's not clear. You're not saying it's clear. Additionally, Louisiana law does not define the termination of a medically futile pregnancy as diagnosed by two qualified doctors exercising reasonable medical judgment as an abortion. Does it not now? Cite that. This letter does not cite where in the Louisiana law it specifically makes that exemption, because it does not. These laws do not restrict qualified ethical doctors from caring for mothers and their babies. Louisiana laws and regulations ensure, inspect, and empower physicians to use reasonable medical judgment to care for pregnant women, including those facing emergencies, miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies, and fetal abnormalities. Bullshit. That is total, utter, and complete bullshit. That is not the case. We've read the law here live on the show. It is not the case. The law is very specific as to what procedures are allowed, and basically the law requires that the law basically requires it to be a lot of harm, like immediate death or immediate risk of permanent damage to life-sustaining organs. So if you have a situation where if the doctor says, if this pregnancy continues, there is a 50% chance or an 80% chance, or whatever percent chance that this person will be at risk to get these conditions. That's not good enough. That procedure would be considered illegal under the wording of the Louisiana laws. Only upon it becoming the actual threat is it allowed, and then the patient may very well suffer those permanent injuries to their hearts, like the woman who responded to the Date Right Stuff guy on TikTok, who basically explained that because the doctors would not treat her for like 17 days, she basically developed AFib and now has a permanent heart abnormality that will never go away because of these draconian pro-life, in quotes, laws that have been passed. I think that was Oklahoma. In Louisiana, there is a woman who was miscarrying, who you saw in the Democratic National Convention, who was denied medical care by the hospital because her pregnancy was not ended yet, because there was still a fetal heartbeat, despite the fact that it was a doomed pregnancy. And to be clear, nothing in Louisiana law stands in the way of a doctor providing care that stabilizes and treats emergency conditions. Any statements to the contrary are flatly incorrect. Bull. Any hospital or doctor, any hospital emergency room that refuses to treat and stabilize a woman having a miscarriage or suffering with an ectopic pregnancy should be committing both medical malpractice and violating federal law. Of course, if you commit medical malpractice, in order to prove somebody in Louisiana has committed medical malpractice, you first have to subject them to a medical review board, which requires a panel of doctors to say, hey, we're going to listen to this case and we're going to determine the facts of the case and see whether or not malpractice happened. Now, what the review board says will determine whether or not a case will go forward or not. Because it doesn't, if the medical review board says, no, this wasn't malpractice, you can still sue, but they still require the review board to be conducted. And usually when the review board says no, they're basically, the lawyers will say, well, we're not going to take this case because we're not going to win. We know because we dealt with this specifically because of a horrible OBGYN under Ochsner here in Louisiana, because there was medical malpractice, but the doctors protected their own. Louisiana law should not be read as requiring hospital emergency room staff to refuse such emergency care, but they will because the law is not clear, and you're not making it any more clearer. When would a physician violate Louisiana law? As a Louisiana's Attorney General, I will never seek to criminalize the conduct of a doctor using reasonable medical judgment within the confines of the law, who, to the extent possible, endeavors to care for both mothers and babies. Doctors, in fact, have been doing their best to do so for decades. That's a vague statement. More specific statement. What happened with Kate Cox? Would you go after a hospital like Ken Paxton did, the Attorney General, your cohort or whatever from the state of Texas? Louisiana law specifically identifies actions that are not considered prohibited abortion when performed by a physician. In summary, a physician only violates the law if he or she intentionally takes the action to terminate a pregnancy knowingly that will likely cause the death of the unborn child, when that action does not otherwise meet the definition of permissible procedures. But of course, the definition of permissible procedures is vague, and that's the problem that I've raised. That's the problem that Mandy Landry has raised. That's the problem that we all have issues with, and the problem that you're not addressing. You're not specifically addressing those conditions and when you would act and when you wouldn't act. The law is not violated if intentional medical treatment accidentally or unintentionally causes the death of the unborn child. Well, of course not, because that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a slip-up. We're talking about, somebody going in there and acting in the case, like, for example, of Kate Cox. If you had a Kate Cox type situation here, if the doctors performed the procedure to end the miscarrying pregnancy while there was still a fetal heartbeat, when there was no specific, immediate sepsis, but the doctor wanted to prevent sepsis from happening to make sure that the person didn't lose their life or lose their ability to have a child or whatever, that person could very well be subject to arrest and punishment under the law, because Liz Muriel hasn't addressed that completely here. And I'm sure there's tons of comments in the chat. I know I'm ranting. You're welcome, Nick, for the rant, but I'm gonna just finish all of this and then I'll get to the comments in the chat. I promise. Miscarriage. The Human Life Protection Act clearly separates miscarriage management from elective abortion. Does it now? I don't think it does. The law states the following is not a prohibited abortion: the removal of a deceased unborn child, or the inducement or delivery of the uterine contents in case of a positive diagnosis, certified in writing in the woman's medical record along with the results of an obstetric ultrasound test that the pregnancy has ended. But ended, what does pregnancy ended mean? Define ended pregnancy. What about ending? What if it's ending but hasn't fully ended? Can you act then? Or do you have to wait for it to end? Do you have to wait for the amniotic fluid to keep leaking out of the uterus and causing and risking sepsis to the patient? Huh? Liz Muriel? Or is in the unavoidable and untreatable process of ending doing a spontaneous miscarriage, also known as terminology of spontaneous abortion, missed abortion, prohibited, LARS 1417. So let's see if that actually says that, because I don't believe you. We haven't gone over that. See. I brought up the same thing twice. Additionally, Louisiana law clarifies that the termination of pregnancy is not prohibited when a licensed physician determines in her reasonable medical judgment that it is necessary to protect the life of a pregnant mother. Right, but that's not the wording. The wording isn't to protect the life of a pregnant mother. The wording is much more specific than that, where you have to be under certain circumstances. A licensed physician can perform any medical procedure to prevent a pregnant mother's death, substantial risk of death due to a physical condition, or serious permanent impairment to a life-sustaining organ. That's the wording. So what if it's serious impairment to a non-life-sustaining organ? What if, like, for example, the pregnancy was going to cause serious and permanent damage to a uterus? That's not a life-sustaining organ to the patient. What then? Huh? And it has to be an immediate. It has to be. It's not a substantial risk of death due to physical condition. It's an immediate risk. The wording is not substantial. It's immediate under the law. Under this provision, the legal obligation is that a licensed physician make a reasonable medical efforts to preserve both the life of the patient and the mother and the child in a manner consistent with reasonable medical practice. Reasonable medical practice is as soon as it's obvious that the fetus is no longer viable, yeet it. Yeetus the fetus. That is the most reasonable action to take. Nothing else should matter at that point. If it's ending, gone. If that's what the patient wants. If the patient wants to unreasonably wait and thinks that God's going to come down and save the ending pregnancy and prevent the doomed fetus from being terminated naturally, then, you know, more power to them for their own personal care. If they want to make that decision about their own personal care, that should be their right to make that decision. But it shouldn't be the right of the state to stop anybody else from doing so. Refusal by a hospital to treat a woman presenting with emergent conditions, again, emergent conditions, not conditions that would be emergent if allowed to continue, need to defer to reasonable medical judgment of licensed doctors. Ectopic pregnancies, I'm not worried about ectopic pregnancies. Ectopic pregnancies can be treated. I'm not going to argue that they can't be treated. Medical futility. Louisiana law is also absolutely clear that the removal of an unborn child who is deemed to be medically futile is not a prohibited abortion. I don't believe you. The Louisiana Department of Health has issued a list of specific conditions that fall under medical futility condition to address these situations that may fall outside that list. Again, because you can't possibly enumerate every single possibility. 2 qualified doctors can certify the condition. Institutions of physicians who choose not to provide the service in medically futile circumstances outside of an emergency context are not required to do so and are protected under the law, i.e., they're not required to act to remove a unviable fetus if it's not listed in this list, which is a bunch of BS, more BS from the law. For those mothers who choose to carry the child with life-limiting diagnosis or term, and that's fine. If they want to choose to do that, they can choose to do that. The law obviously does not prohibit prescribing, selling, filling prescriptions for that are contraceptive. That's fine. My office is not aware of a single Louisiana doctor who has declined emergency care. Of course, you were made aware at the DNC, not the DNC, but the DNC. You were made aware of that. Thank you, Pam, for subscribing. Appreciate you. Shout out to Pam for being a Twitch subscriber. Thank you so much. 11 of the 25 goal. Everyone's more than welcome. So let's see. Let's scroll through. What was the act again? The act was because you open the law and the law doesn't include the entire legislation. It just includes bits and pieces of it. So I have to go through the no. That's all definitions. Let's Louisiana abortion ban text. As this loading, let's go ahead and scroll up and deal with everybody else who's up there. Shared the Heather Cox Richardson message for 916 about Amber Nicole Thurman. Where did you share it? On Twitter? Where did you share it? Facebook. To my Facebook page, like to Liberal Dan Radio, or to Liberal Dan. What's up, Wundermom? Good to see you. Let's see. Trying to get down to the thing and try and get to the language where severability. That's not a correct one. That's not the right one. No, on your page. Okay. You can email it to me. liberaldanradio@gmail.com is probably the easiest way for me to access it. I saw CR say, hi, Dan. Hi, CR. Good to see you. I'm so upset about this, Monkey. There's so many reasons for decisions to be made. It's not easy and stays with you for life. I'm literally in tears. It's heartbreaking. I agree with you. Because groups of church ladies decided to sepsis as God-shaming you for you having sex. Exactly. My wife suffered great pain, miscarriage. It was traumatic for us. Yes, we've dealt with two. Have you heard of Mama Dr. Jones? She's an OB-gyno with some interesting YouTube vids on the subject. No, but I'll have to check it out. Let's see. This is an article. This is a letter from office from John Bell Edwards. Dear President Cortez, please be advised I have signed Senate Bill 342. Let's look that up. Louisiana Senate Bill 342. That's it. Let's see. Fred, no one actually supports abortion, but the right to choose. I mean, I'm 100% of support of abortions. You know, if somebody wants to have an abortion, you should be able to get it. I'll never have one, so shouldn't be. But it's if you want to reduce the number of abortions that take place, it is my position that we should increase education on how to prevent pregnancies, create better birth control methods, including for men, and make all pregnancies safer by making it so that you can have better medical care for all people, so that everybody can get access to good prenatal care. So there you go. But I'm never going to support anybody who wants to ban abortion at any level, simply because only 0.5% of all abortions take place after 22 weeks, and those late in the pregnancy abortions are only done in cases where the pregnancy is doomed. See, women's rights are, not to mention democracies on the ballot, vote for freedom. Exactly. Women's rights, in body autonomy, Roe-vember, all of that is absolutely important. All of that is absolutely on the ballot. All of that needs to be, protected and dealt with, etc. Because democracy on the ballot. If Trump gets elected again, we're fucked. There's nothing, not much more I can say about it. We are screwed and tattooed. But we need to make sure to protect, abortion rights moving forward, and it won't be if we have another Donald Trump pregnancy. Let's just keep scrolling down and see what other comments there are. You can go from stable to coding in seconds, exactly. And again, any delay in realizing that somebody's hemorrhaging to getting the drugs into their system is additional risk you place on that person's life. All because one person did a shitty thing. Yeah, Jeff Curry, the right makes it sound like Oprah is handing out abortions. You get an abortion, and you get abortion. Everybody gets abortions. No, that's not what happens. No, it's liberaldanradio@gmail.com, Pam. liberaldanradio@gmail.com is the email address. You're welcome. Let's keep scrolling down in the chat to see. Sepsis is horrible. To have to live with it if you survive it. Exactly. All body parts are necessary to sustain life. Born this way. You can make that argument, but I don't think the anti-choice idiots are going to accept that argument either. Yes, Easy E Network. Liberal dance swearing is rare. This gets me riled up. This gets me pissed off. So, and when I see bullshit, I'm going to call it out. So, John Kennedy should be censured immediately and kicked off committee, maybe out of Congress. Ooh, what did he say? I missed that. Thank you, Maria Ali. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you. Let's pop on open the my email. There it is. All right, so let's go to the laws just to make sure that I'm quoting it correctly, and that I'm not, and we're showing that Liz Muriel is full of crap. Heather Cox Richardson. Amber Nicole Thurman died just weeks after the Georgia abortion ban went into effect. She went into sepsis from unexpelled fetal tissue after an abortion she obtained legally in North Carolina. Georgia's law made the routine dilation and curettage procedure, or DNC, a felony, with vague exceptions to make doctors worry about prosecution if they perform it. Reports show that doctors repeatedly discussed DNC for Thurman, but put off even as her organs began to fail. By the time they performed the procedure, it was too late. Serrano notes that Georgia Governor Brian Kemp said he was overjoyed when the law went into effect and that it would keep women safe, healthy, and informed. Attorneys for the state of Georgia accused abortion rights advocates who said the law endangered women of hyperbolic fear-mongering. Just 2 weeks before Thurman died, she left behind a 6-year-old son. And I believe it was reported her last words were, "Please take care of my son. Please take care of my child." If that doesn't break you, I don't know what will. I nearly cried when I heard that, because it was just like, what the hell? That should never be anybody's last word. To die and go out thinking that that you're going to have to worry about your child, how your child's going to be taken care of, because this dumbass law, or these dumbass laws, do not allow doctors to actually act, is ridiculous. And now this child has to grow up with his mom, just because these anti-life, supposedly pro-life zealots are ridiculous. Let's see. Abortion shall not mean any one or more of the following acts if performed by a physician: a medical procedure performed with the intention to save the life or preserve the health of the unborn child, the removal of a dead unborn child, or the inducement or delivery of the uterine contents in the case of a positive diagnosis, certified in writing that the women's medical record, along with the results of the obstetric ultrasound test, that the pregnancy has ended, or it is unavoidable and untreatable process of ending due to spontaneous miscarriage, also known as a spontaneous abortion, missed abortion, inevitable abortion, incomplete abortion, or septic abortion. Again, who's going to do it? Who is going to put in writing? Who is going to be the two doctors that are going to put in writing that this was an unavoidable, untreatable process? Who's going to risk that for their career? Who's going to risk being put in prison with an overzealous attorney general like you have in Texas? You have Ken Paxton. Why would we believe that Liz Murrow wouldn't go after these people? Like, without her coming out and saying what Ken Paxton did was wrong. Give us examples. Liz Murrow should give us examples. The performance of a medical procedure in good faith medical judgment or reasonable medical judgment to prevent the death or substantial risk of death to the pregnant woman due to a physical condition, or to prevent the serious permanent impairment of a life-sustaining organ of a pregnant woman. However, the physician shall make reasonable medical efforts under the circumstances to preserve both the life of the mother and life of her unborn child in a manner consistent with reasonable medical practice. The removal of an unborn child who is deemed to be medically futile, the diagnosis shall be a medical judgment certified by 2 qualified physicians and recorded in the women's medical record. The medical procedure shall be performed in a licensed ambulatory surgical center or hospital. Upon the completion of the procedure, the physician shall submit an individual abortion report with appropriate evidence of the certified diagnosis. So again, jumping through more hoops to prevent that are going to make legal questions and cast doubt in the minds of the people who would do an abortion procedure in the state of Louisiana. Enough to deny the woman who was in Louisiana, who was at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, or the Convention for the Democratic National Committee, to not be able to get treatment at the hospitals that are there. Yes, CR. Ken Paxton is a criminal, should be a criminal, should have been disbarred, should have been removed from office, but of course the corrupt Republicans, refuse to act because they protect their own. They protect their own. At 8:55, just a reminder, just a show reset, Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central here on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. You can, like Pam did, subscribe on Twitch. You can do it for free if you have Amazon Prime. You can also be a member, a Liberal Danimal, on YouTube at liberaldanradio.com, or you can gift memberships and subscriptions as whichever platform you're on. For others, you can buy bits on Twitch. You could buy super chats and super stickers on YouTube. You can Venmo me. If you Venmo me and put Andrea in the subject line at Liberal Dan at Venmo, it'll help go towards sexy liberal podcast tour meet and grope that they're doing, that Aaron and I want to help Andrea get. So shoot me a Venmo over that way if you want to help out with that. You can either scan the QR code. I think Aaron shared the link up above, or you could just Venmo Liberal Dan as well. Whisper Mason, I remember when conservatives said medical costs are so high because of liability insurance costs from frivolous lawsuits. What do they think fighting a doctor in court for this would do? Of course, it'll be ridiculous. If you don't know how to use Twitch, you can. Well, you have Amazon. Is that what you're saying? You have Amazon, but you don't know how to use Twitch? Thank you, or Villaby. I appreciate your love for the program. No one's on Blog Talk. I've not been looking at the call screen at Blog Talk Radio. If anybody had tried to call and I haven't answered, it's because I've been looking at other screens. I do apologize. But yes, this making of mifepristone and misoprostol Schedule 4 drugs is quite problematic. In and of itself, it's more salt in the wounds of the people who are seeking medical care in the state of Louisiana. Misoprostol is not just used in abortions. Again, we've already covered that it's also used to treat like hemorrhaging in pregnancy care if there is a problem after giving birth. But it can also be used for like stomach ulcers, like. It can be prescribed for that too. Like, why are you making that a Schedule 4 drug? It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Like, and supposedly, like, for Schedule 4 drugs, like, there's limits, I think, on how much it could be prescribed. There's stuff that can be subscribed or prescribed. And if it's a Schedule 4, I think there are limits on how much you could prescribe it. So if there's limits on how much you can prescribe it, then people who are dealing with stomach ulcers are not going to be able to get the care that they need, or they're going to be questioned on the care that they need, because these people are going to be getting these pills to treat one condition, and they're going to think, oh, are you just doing abortions over and over and over again because you're on this thing? And that's another thing. Are these people that then going to be questioned, why do you keep taking these pills? Should be none of your business. That's HIPAA. There are other things where the conservatives bring up HIPAA where it's not related, like, let's see your vaccine card. That's a violation of HIPAA. No, it's not. But you then, they want to know about, your personal information about, what drugs you take. Yeah, that could be a violation of HIPAA. Yeah, Pam. Hydroxychloroquine was used for treating lupus, and that really messed up the supply chain. Yeah, it's ridiculous. There are lots of things that Trump has pushed that really messed up the supply chain. And then, of course, there was like shortages on ivermectin for a bit, so you couldn't treat your animals for like heartworms and stuff, like dewormer. Like animals couldn't get dewormed because all these humans were trying to take up all the ivermectin, and some of them were actually taking the actual ivermectin, like the actual ones from the animal supply stores, because if COVID was a hoax, why were they taking ivermectin? If it was a hoax, why would you take anything if it was a hoax, right? But as Hal said, famously, or at least famously amongst the people who watch Hal, if you had COVID and you took ivermectin and you felt better afterwards, you likely also had worms. So, ivermectin, an antibiotic meant to treat worms in animals for parasitic infections, people, not viral infections. Exactly. So Joe Rogan's COVID treatment killed your dog. Exactly. Freaking Joe Rogan. But every time I hear Joe Rogan, I think of the Chappelle Show. Like, let me tell you something, Joe Rogan. I smoke rocks. That is correct, Easy E. Ivermectin is not intended to treat COVID or flu or any viral disease. But yet they were obsessed with it because that's what they do. They get obsessed with these crazy things, and that's what they do. 9 o'clock. Let's see. So I think I've ranted a good bit about Dobbs V Jackson killing Candy Miller and Amber Nicole Thurman, Louisiana's laws on mifepristone, misoprostol, and how it can affect patients who are not seeking an abortion because you're making it now difficult to treat conditions that are unrelated to abortions. Trump and Vance being idiots. What's up, Gen X George? Did RFK take ivermectin for his brainworms? Maybe he should have. Or maybe that's why he only is so far in. Maybe he took the ivermectin and the brainworms went away. So he was only this much, affected and not totally offed. I don't know. The toilet paper shortage made your dog happier? Why is that? That sounds silly. I remember during the toilet paper shortage, we got 2 bidets for the house, and it's been lovely. I love my bidets. Bidets are wonderful. A dude was shriveling long before. That is true. That is very true. And unfortunately, people have been mocking him and his voice, whatever, and I don't support that either. Like, people, that if for some reason that if RFK Jr. ran as a Democrat and managed to win the Democratic nomination, that Trump and his people would be mocking him for his speech impediment too. They just happened to like to use him because they thought that RFK Jr. was eating into Joe Biden's popularity or whatever, when in reality, it wasn't. And now RFK is just on Team Trump now because, of course he is. And his family has rejected him and yada, yada, yada. But how many people saw some of the additional rants? Because, of course, we have Donald Trump and JD Vance, and they're continuing their rants on Haitians and everything like that. JD Vance admitted to making up stories. He admitted to it. He said in a rally, I think today or yesterday, that basically that the media have been ignoring the problems of Springfield, and only upon him telling the story of or them telling the story of the dogs and cats being eaten, even though they weren't, that now they're paying attention to Springfield. So basically, according to JD Vance, the message he's sending there is, to him, the ends justify the means. You can lie all you want, according to JD Vance, and make up stories that are hateful, cause bomb threats to be threatened against hospitals, have people have acid thrown on their cars, people who are terrified to go to school, people are terrified to even leave their houses because they're Haitians, and legal Haitian residents, not people who are here in violation of the law, legal Haitian residents who are here, who are members of active members of their community, who own businesses, who are good people. All these people are being terrified by the vitriol by Trump and Vance, and he thinks it's okay that you make up lies about them as long as because he got an end result that he liked. And of course, they're not going to walk it back because Republican politicians don't believe in ever saying I'm sorry. They'll never apologize. They'll never retract. They'll never admit to doing wrong. But the amazing thing is when Donald Trump gets up there and he's like, these Haitians, the Haitian people who are in here, who knows where they come from? Who knows where they come from? Well, obviously he thinks they come from Venezuela, because the next thing he said was that he was going to go and he was going to do his mass deportation and he was going to deport all the Haitians to Venezuela. Why the hell would you deport all of the Haitians to Venezuela? You dumbass. There's no reason. Why Venezuela? I mean, A, why are you going to deport legal residents? That doesn't make any sense. And B, Venezuela? They're not Venezuelan. They're Haitians. Where are Haitians from? Well, Trump doesn't know. And according to JD Vance, it's Haitian. As Wonder Mom just said on Twitch. JD Vance says that the Haitians are from Haitian. What's Haitian? Where is that? JD Vance and Donald Trump are morons. If you don't know that Haitians are from Haiti,
You don't deserve to be anywhere near the Oval Office. I mean, they were mocking what's-his-face, who ran as a libertarian. Oh, what was his name? Back in, was it 2016? Was it 2016? And was it Johnson? Was it Ron John? Whatever his name was. And he was asked about Aleppo, and he was like, "What's an Aleppo?" He didn't know what Aleppo was. I can forgive that. I mean, maybe you should know, if you're running for president, about world politics and everything like that. I don't necessarily expect everybody to know what Aleppo is, or where it is. Haiti? You don't know what Haiti is? You don't know that the name of the country that Haitians come from is Haiti? Or you don't even know where Haitians come from to begin with? Again, how dumb are you? And how dumb are you for voting for these two idiots? Yeah, Pam. Pam. We're basically using dirty language today on Liberal Day and Radio. Talk from the left. That's right. Gary Johnson. That's right. It's Gary. It was some sort of Gary Johnson, Ron Johnson. It was some sort of dick. So whatever. We're using or as Pam says, what a twat over on Twitter. We're just using all sorts of bad language today. Wordy nerds today. Quail could not spell potato. Yeah, I know. I mean, but you miss the days of Dan Quayle where that's the harmlessness of it. Dan Quayle, potato. But, I mean, Sarah Palin, I could see Russia from my house. Of course, that was Tina Fey, not Sarah Palin. But still, Sarah Palin was also not the brightest, the sharpest bulb in the six-pack, as I like to use mixed metaphors. But Trump, where do these Haitians come from? I don't know. Their mom's vaginas. How about that? They came from their mom's uteruses. Frickin' potato. Tim, yes, there was a mention of donating for Andrea. Aaron is trying to organize donations for Andrea to be able to go to the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour meet and grope. And I think it's right. I think she said it was right about $100. So if you Venmo Liberal Dan, the QR code is here, or if you just it's the username is Liberal Dan on Venmo. So if you Venmo me and you put Andrea as the subject, we'll put all of that towards whatever the cost it is to get her to see that show, because Andrea has we love Andrea. Andrea's been helpful to Hal. Andrea has helped me, even though she's not directly a mod, but she has helped push the show, helped get people. She always talks about that I'm coming up next after Hal. So she scheduled. She made it so that I'll be on Hal's show on Friday at noon Central. So again, if you want to watch more Liberal Dan, tune in to Hal's show on Friday, and I'll be there. Sarah Palin is proof you don't have to legalize weed to have it laying around the house. Nice. Oh heck yeah, Andrea needs a good meet and grope. And I thought it was a typo at first when Aaron told me about it. I was like, wait, is it really called a meet and grope? Yeah. I'm like, man, I want to go on a Sexy Liberal tour now. I think the only tweet that Stephanie Miller has responded to was, or she liked one of my tweets where I was like, I think we need like a B tier where you have the Sexy Liberal Comic Tour or the Sexy Liberal Podcast Network, and then you need to have people like myself, but the not quite as sexy but still liberal podcasts, and have us be like the B team or the minor leagues, so to speak, with the farm teams of all of the people who are trying to push our liberal leftist progressive agenda on the world, spreading the woke mind virus, as what's his face will say. Did I get a new hairdo? Yes, I got my hair. I got my haircut on, was it Sunday? I think it was. No, was it Sunday or? Saturday, sometime this past weekend. It was Sunday morning. I got my herd in. So it was getting far too long. So, and I actually shaved before the show as well. Probably because I wanted to look good for when my wife came home. But, you know, I like looking good for y'all as well, or as good as I can. Thank you, Gen X George. Appreciate you. I went to the show in Albuquerque and bought the after show meetup. Gotta maintain wife faction. Nice. Technically, this tour is not a meet and grope. They sell a master pass, whatevs. That's fine. You know, whatever you want to call it, a rose by any other name would still sound as sweet.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Radical left-wing communist thugs, ha. Thank you, George, Gen X George. Andrea is the mother of mod. She's the grand mod. She deserves all the good things. I would love for this to take off. I would love for the podcast to be like, you know, my main thing that I do. Because if I did, then I could, you know, pay my mods, all that other good stuff. And I could, you know, get a better laptop because I need a better laptop because this one is very close to dying. I did get some good news, by the way. Maybe good news. Maybe. I got in contact with Geico, who was the insurance that's the insurance company that my mother-in-law had on her car back when it was stolen. And I got in contact with the adjuster, and I sent him the receipt for the work that was done, and I explained the situation, and he was like pretty much like, all right, well, give me all the information, and we'll make sure we cut you a check. And I was like, what? And I'm most of me is refusing to believe that it's going to be that easy to get that done, but think good thoughts, because at least we'll get that paid back, and that's less money. I'm not going to say it's more money in my pocket, but I will say it's less in debt will be for the short term. We'll see. I don't know. Again,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. And again, for anybody who might be new, who's wondering why I keep playing Donald Trump's It Is What It Is, I always think it's very important for everybody to know that, remind you that why Donald Trump said that, which is that he was asked on the COVID deaths during his presidency, and instead of being, you know, a nice person or whatever, because we know he's not, he was basically just shrugged off the deaths, just saying it is what it is. So that's why we play that, because everybody should remember that when asked about the COVID deaths, that was his response, because he's a piece of crap. So adjusters sometimes end up being people. Yes, unfortunately, they also work for insurance companies. Somebody posted on Facebook earlier today, name something that is a scam but has become so normalized that people don't believe it's a scam. And I was like, insurance. Let's see. It was nice to meet Hal. We didn't chat really. I shook his hand. I told him I was a subscriber on Twitch. He was busy with others and not as needy. I didn't want to chat too much with anyone after my husband's death in January. I've been a bit fragile in public. I didn't want to start bawling and bum folks out. I'm sorry, Pam. If we do ever meet, you're more than welcome to chat, talk, whatever. I'm more than happy to you know, I'm a very friendly guy. You know, I was very happy to meet Ken. I was very happy to meet Aaron and anybody else that I get to meet. I would love to be able to meet you. I speak type on, as somebody said once to me, I speak Taiwanese. I do plenty of typos that I know I can pretty much interpret whatever. These fat fingers have made so many typos, it's a damn shame. Car and student loan interest, yes, that too. Car dealers, scams, especially with my mother-in-law's car and what they did with us with my mother-in-law not being the original purchaser of the vehicle. That we're still shook about that too. I can't believe that happened. Thank you, Jolie, for sharing all the stuff as well. Appreciate you. Mary Alley. I remember yelling at my TV when he said that. Oh, when he first said that, I was like, did he really just say that fucking thing? I can't, like, it was absolutely just like, I mean, I'm never really surprised when Donald Trump says something horrible, but it's still just like, really? Like, and then they're trying to blame us. They're trying to blame the left for vitriol. Meanwhile, they're the ones justifying bad-mouthing Haitians and making them out to be the enemies. Donald Trump calls us the enemy, yet we're the ones who, and we just say he's a threat to democracy. He's calling all of us the enemy. Who's the one who's spreading more vitriol? The ones, us telling the truth? I mean, I guess we are his enemy, sure. So I guess anybody who worships Donald Trump, yeah, I'm sure we're their enemies too, but he is the one that incites violence. He's the one who said that he would pay for the legal fees for anybody for anybody who assaulted a counter protester at one of his rallies. But we're the violent ones. Yeah, go F yourself, Donnie boy. Let's see. Hang Your Hate announcing on ticket with another bigger band on Monday. I know who and have seen the posters for it. Ooh. Who? I'm wondering who it might be. I guess you have to be quiet about it. You can't announce it till Monday. I'm very much looking forward to seeing who that might be. But congratulations to Hang Your Hate for doing that. Hang Your Hate is awesome. I think I put the link to Hang Your Hate on the Friends of the Show page too. If I haven't, let me know and I will. It's also a band I took him to when he was 12. That's pretty sweet. Couch effer. Nice. See, he's made it so that he says such random BS in the most random and horrendous times in the country that his followers can't keep up and dismiss the vile words. And I don't even think they dismiss it. They don't necessarily. They know he says it. They just don't care. Or they do care, but they care in the way that's the wrong way. Like, they like what he says. It's like, oh, good, he said the things that we want to hear. He likes those things. When he calls both sides good people, you know, he likes that he's calling everyone who marched with Nazis a good people, because they want to march with Nazis too, because they want to be Nazis, right? So. Let's see, I can't do multitasking stuff very well, Chris. They say women do it better. Of course, women do it better. We have to. I don't prejudge people on their genders and what they can do better or not. Okay, you know. What he's worried about is MAGA are blowhards, the left are doers. When is the last time you heard about a MAGA charity raising money for the homeless? So when MAGA say you better not or will start something. I mean, well, the MAGAs are doers. It's just what they do is horrific. Like, you know, January 6th. They've succeeded in the Nazi assignments. Now they're just fighting for the office with the window at the Kremlin. Yeah, pretty much. I think I am no longer to hold back on calling Trump Hitler. I mean, I've been doing it since I've been saying that he's been using Hitler tactics since 2016. And people mocked me. The only thing he hasn't done what Hitler did was he hasn't been to prison yet. So if Donald Trump really wants to be like Hitler, he'll go to prison like a good little convict. Unfortunately, we won't see him go to prison until after the election. And the only way we see him go to prison is making sure he's defeated. Because I'm sure he won't be put into prison. I'm sure the judge will be like, well, what can I do? If I put him in prison, he'll just get out on January 20th, 2025. So no reason to put him in prison for any more than that, right? So I know, Chris. I know you're not gender bashing too. Or either. Hey, Fancy, good to see you. Yep, that was his reply to 500,000 COVID deaths. 500,000 COVID deaths.
It is what it is.
Yep, there you go. They tried calling out BTC and Piers Morgan to explain how Dems aren't doing the same thing. Sort of monkey, hi Gen X, sorry I didn't say hi, sorry, I'm I'm trying to get very drunk and miss chat sometimes when I drink. Nice. Trying to see if I've missed anything in the chat, because we've covered the idiocy of Donald and Vance. We've covered the mifepristone. We've covered and misoprostol. We've covered the abortion killing Candy Miller and Amber Nicole Thurman. I spelled that wrong on Blog Talk Radio as well. I got the name wrong. I just copied and pasted it everywhere wrong, so I had to fix it everywhere. Hey, Bicycle Mike, what's going on? Don't get very drunk, get drunk. Yes! Thank you, Tim. I was going to talk about that. Yes! Thank you. Before I ended the show, I didn't post that in the show, but I was actually going to make that the title of the show. It was like Paging Hezbollah. I was going to talk about that. Oh my God. Just first and foremost, let me just say this. I have no sympathy for dead terrorists. If you're in Hezbollah, you're a terrorist. Simple as that. And I take some issue with the people who are concerned about when you attack a terrorist and let's say their family members get hurt amongst the way. No. If you attack a terrorist and they happen to stay around their families, I mean, of course you should try and minimize it as much as possible. But if you are if by choosing a life of terrorism, you are putting your family's life at risk, and it's your fault for doing so. But can I just say, I am regardless of how I agree with or how much I agree or disagree. I've stated a lot of disagreement with the actions of Netanyahu and the Israeli government as it pertains to how they've responded to the 10/6 attacks. I believe that their methods of just, going over the top in their attacks on Gaza have been too much. And I always feel the need to preface this because there's always going to be some idiot who comes in and tries to be stupid about it. That being said, I am absolutely in awe with all of the facts that are coming out oh, thank you, Josh. Appreciate you. Hezbollah or Hezblow Up. That's what they should call it. That's what I should have called the show. Hezblow Up. Like the head of Hezbollah apparently gets rightly paranoid about cell phones. They're like, why does Israel need spies? They have spies, all the spies that they need, because all they need to do is spy on our telephones and cell phone service, and they'll be able to see our locations, they'll be able to do everything. So they got rid of all their cell phones and they went with pagers or beepers or whatever. And I guess walkie-talkies or two-way radios. And I guess Israel gets wind of this and puts this plan into motion that I guess creates a pager company and so that they'll do business with Hezbollah, so that Hezbollah can have all these pagers. And I don't know, maybe they come up and was like, I can get you a good deal. I'll get it for you wholesale. You buy them in bulk, you get a good deal. I'll ship it for free. Oi! I'm Jewish. I can do that. So they get Hezbollah up all of these beepers, and I was wondering how they did it. Apparently, and in each little pager, they had a little itty bitty bit of explosives, and then in each little walkie-talkie, two-way radio or whatever, they again put a little bit of explosives, and all of a sudden, all at once, boom, they all exploded, and they have videos of it. They have videos of just got dudes standing there, and all of a sudden his pager just blows up. Like 9 dead today, I think, from the two-way radios, maybe 8 yesterday. A whole bunch of people sent to the hospital because of it. It's freaking genius. Like, to be able to implement that and to get it done is just absolutely ridiculously genius. And they were worried about being spied on. Well, now, since you're controlling the pager company, yeah, you're not sending information in and out. You're only sending information one way, but you could still probably see the information that's coming in the one way, so you can still grab intel. And then once you decide the intel is enough, or now it's time to act, you push the button, simultaneous explosions. And from what one of my friends said to me, apparently one of the people who had one of the Hezbollah terrorist pagers was the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon. Now, why does the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon have a Hezbollah pager, do you ask? Well, probably because we all know that Iran backs Hezbollah, just as they back Hamas too. So, oh well. F around and find out. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Become a terrorist, have your pager blown up, I suppose. Which brings some are just what happens when you overheat a lithium battery. Right, but still, they manufactured these things. They managed to get it so that they could have a little teeny explosive in every little pager, so that simultaneously they could just go poof. That's the kind of stuff they should have been doing with Hamas. That sort of evil genius type stuff is what they should have done with Hamas. Not like carpet bombing Gaza. Get Hamas a whole bunch of pagers as well. Get them a whole bunch of, sneaky stuff in, get into their supplies, whatever. Make sure that Hamas gets in whatever technology they're using, and then all of a sudden blow that up. Because it was freaking brilliant. Mossad agents are in the ER to see who comes down with a stomach wound. Nice. Easy E, Netanyahu is a war criminal and Gaza is becoming a genocide. Sure, I absolutely have been saying Netanyahu is a war criminal for a very long time now. I don't use the word genocide on it, but I don't begrudge the people who do. But, like, since the creation of, Gaza or whatever, Israel and Gaza being its own separate thing from, whatever, the population has grown. So if it's a genocide, it's not a very effective one, but still, it's still war crimes. And Netanyahu is a war criminal. Tim Farrell, how the hell they pulled this off? I mean, that's my understanding. I mean, there may be more facts that come out after today that will let us know more information and more details as to how this got pulled off. But Tim Farrell, I bet they're not fighting over the TV remotes anymore. It was like they're sitting there in the house. Hey, could you hand me the TV remote? Nah, fam, I'm good. I'm just going to change the TV manually. I don't need the remote. I don't need any small electronic device. They're going to be like second guessing, third guessing every single electronic device that they have right now, because which ones did the Israelis get? Which ones did they not? Which one's safe to use? Which one's not safe to use? I can only imagine just everyone just like, what do we do? Can I use the bidet today? Can I use the electric mixer? What can I use? I don't know. So it's crazy. Easy E Network, Netanyahu should be arrested in prison pending trial at The Hague. It's like you listen to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. I've been saying that for a while too. Absolutely. That being said, I don't know if he was behind the plan or not, or whoever was behind the plan, but whoever was behind the plan, just masterpiece. It was a masterpiece plan. Mossad agents, they already got to that. Now they know who was Hezbollah up. I wonder what the outgoing messages on the on the beepers. Outgoing message on Malika. Shalom, motherfuckers. that's the beep beep beep. Shalom, motherfuckers. What? Actually, no, they didn't even. I don't even think they could see the message. Like, I don't even think they had time to look at the message. I think it just went off and went boom. So whatever the message was, I don't know if anybody saw it. Maybe I should. What was the message on Israeli beepers? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Exploding pagers that killed at least 9, injured 2,800 were detonated with message impersonating Hezbollah leadership report. The exploding pagers that wounded whatever reportedly detonated by message impersonating the leaders of the recognized terrorist group. Hezbollah militants across Lebanon and parts of Syria received a message that appeared to be sent by the group's leadership to their new pagers at 3:30, but in reality the fake message was the trigger that set up the explosives and hidden in the devices, officials told New York Times. The message triggered the batteries inside the pagers to overheat and ignite the explosives. The pagers, which were rigged with explosives by the Israeli spy agency Mossad, beeped for several seconds before they exploded. The beeping pagers killed at least 9 people. 8 were fighters. Of course, 9 was an 8-year-old girl. Devices left a trail of small bloody scenes throughout the country as they exploded in people's pockets, bags, and hands. Some of the victims lost their hands, had chunks blown out of their thighs or groins. Ugh. Maimed faces, according to photographers of the Associated Press. Israel allegedly orchestrated the attack to take out Hezbollah's central method of communication, as the group had switched to pagers over phones to avoid Israeli surveillance of its leaders in February. Mossad allegedly intercepted a shipment of the Taiwanese-made beepers before it reached Lebanon and planted 1 to 2 ounces of pentaterephthal tetranitrate, a highly explosive material, next to the battery, along with a remote trigger switch. The devices were brand new, but it's unclear when they arrived in Lebanon or how long they had been in use. Israel has refused to comment on the orchestrated attack and whether it was responsible. But it doesn't actually say, in this article at least, what the message was. It was a fake message. It just says it was a fake message, but it doesn't say what the message was. They exploded all the active agents and disabled their communication. I mean, yeah, it's imagine you got the. I mean, I guess so they didn't create a whole beeper company. That would have been great. They realized they know that if they wanted a whole bunch of beepers, so they decided to make beepers. So I guess it's still they intercepted the shipment. They got into the shipment. They put all the stuff into beepers. They put them all back together. Boom! Boom! There you go. Explogees? Is that like an emoji but an explogie? Is that what they sent? An explogie? That's great. But between that and Ukraine modifying off-the-shelf toy drones into tank killers provide its adapt or die, not only the strong survive. Israel is very wealthy, very well equipped in terms of weapons. Russia backs Hamas and Hezbollah, I believe. Pretty much. Well, it backs Iran, and Iran backs Hamas and Hezbollah, but same thing. Is my memory wrong when it comes to recalling who made the gates open for Iran to have funds flowing for them to fund terrorists? What's that guy's name that canceled the deal? Oh, it was Donald Trump that canceled the deal. Barack Obama had a deal with them. He canceled it. Trump also wanted to meet with Taliban leaders at Camp David, but he doesn't want to talk about that. Well, I guess he did at the debate when forced to. Don't page me. Trump has a miniature pager on his earlobe. Israel could do yesterday, but couldn't protect on 10/7. The problem with that is that on 10/7, as my understanding is, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, it's my understanding that Hamas was able to act on intelligence that it got from Iran. The intelligence that Iran got was from Russia, and Russia got the intelligence from Donald Trump, who got it from Israel. So it's Donald Trump's fault that Hamas was able to circumvent Israelis' intelligence by using the intel that it got indirectly from Donald Trump. Donald Trump's responsible for that. Amazing they didn't get noticed by airport security before it happened. I mean, it's Mossad. Mossad is deadly effective, literally. Gen X, I don't like Netanyahu. It says Gen X George, I don't like Netanyahu, but I don't hate Jewish folks. I don't like Netanyahu, and I am a Jewish folk. So there you go. Solidarity. Let's see. About 15 years in the hospital, St. Louis, walking past the line of payphones. My kids asked what those things were. Funny. Netanyahu used it as an excuse to take Gaza. Well, he's trying to, at least. And if Trump wins, I'm sure Trump will be like, go take over the West Bank and Gaza, and then I'll develop it, and I'll put my money into it, and I'll develop properties there. Or maybe Jared will do it in my name. I heard it was 885. That would be great. Sent the message, boobs. I wonder if Jeff Dunham is going to be using these issues in his shows, if for some reason he is still going. That would be funny, though. Have Ahmed, the dead terrorist, have an exploded pager in his hand for the next show. Loins were bloodied. Wow, that is Old Testamentical. Is that a play on words? Old Testament, Old Testicle, Old Testamentical. Yeah, Pam, I keep saying Netanyahu's not Israel, Hamas is not all Palestinians. Exactly. And that's the thing. When people confuse the two, that's when bigotry happens. You don't say now, liberal Dan Trump would never think of making foreign government and its money. No, would he? Someone needs to check his ass on that for real. Absolutely. I mean, no. If Donald Trump wins, I fully believe that what you'll see in Israel is a full-on sending of free, not just selling to Israel, but free to Netanyahu. Netanyahu will be given carte blanche to do whatever hell he wants with Trump's blessing. Gaza will be razed, and then sometime later you'll see Trump Gaza. So, there's that. I was reminiscing about the old modems. Beep, 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 shh, ba-ding, ba-ding. Nice. I never actually had a beeper. One of my exes did have a pager or whatever, but I never had one. I never really wanted a beeper. It just seemed to me to be like overly excessive. Yeah. The Trump Gaza Golf Resort. I wonder if there's an acronym you could do with golf. Gaza, old, lame fucker. Resort. I never had a pager either. So, anyway, but I did have. I was probably late to the cell phone game too. I was late to getting on Facebook. I'm a late for as much of a techie guy as I am. I've been a late adapter to a lot of things, not to boomerish levels, but I mean I'm surprised that like my dad was a computer science major as well. He was a software developer for all of his career, for most of his life or whatever, and just like he hardly ever touches his phone, and I'm just like, wow, I can't even imagine it. Yeah, we called it an electronic leash. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you're my employer and you want me to be able to be paged, you better be paying me to be on call. Otherwise, I'm turning that sumbitch off. So, oh, well, the modem sounds. Yeah, I don't miss those at all. Anybody remember paying per page? Yeah, I remember paying for like extra phone calls or extra minutes, like when you had to watch your minutes on the cell phone plans. Like now it's like, oh, I got unlimited minutes. Really? Everybody has unlimited minutes. That's not a big thing anymore. Let's see. I'm not seeing any Venmos, which is fine. I mean, if you can't afford to Venmo, that's fine. I don't expect anybody to Venmo for Andrea, but if you can, please do, and we will see what happens. But again, if you QR code's here. Put Andrea in the subject if you want it to go towards Andrea. If you just want it to go towards me, you can do that as well. I might still very well, if it comes today, I still might very well use it to help Andrea out. Anyway, again, support the show. If you haven't liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Share videos, comment on videos. Get the algorithms going. That's probably one of the most important things. Obviously, anything financial that you do, I'm always greatly appreciative of, because I'm dealing with a lot of stuff right now, and any little bit helps. But the best thing to help the show is get the algorithms going. Comment on videos, like, comment, share them if any ones that you see that you like. Get the engagement up. Al Gore needs more rhythm, etc., etc., etc. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate you. So anyway, let us go ahead, and we're gonna, because my wife is home after being gone since Friday, I am gonna end the show today a little earlier than normal that I might. So just be able to spend some time with her. This is the end of today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. Again, Venmo Liberal Dan if you want to help out Andrea, get to see the Sexy Liberal podcast tour. And I will again be on Hal's show on Friday at noon my time, so 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. So midday. Look for me there. I look forward to being on Hal's show again. If you can't catch me there, I'll be back unless something big happens where I have to do a special surprise show. I'll be back Monday here, 8 p.m. Central, liberaldanradio.com, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. For more talk from the left, that's right.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.